Buongiorno e benvenuti cari amici. My name is Giovanna and I welcome you to my kitchen on the cliff. Today we're going to make a highly requested, wonderful Italian recipe that has become popular all over the world. We're going to make polenta, and we're going to top our polenta with a wonderful mushroom stew. And we're going to use an array of different kinds of mushrooms. Look at these. You can use 2 of these, you can use 1 kind only, whatever mushrooms are available to you or you particularly like. The ingredients couldn't be simpler. We are going to saute the mushrooms with butter and olive oil, which is typical in northern Italy. And we're going to use an onion, Italian flat leaf parsley, and then the mushrooms are finished with some heavy cream, and that will make the sauce. The polenta also couldn't be easier. Polenta is just cornmeal and water and salt. That's polenta. And then again, the polenta is finished with some butter. The recipe for the polenta and the mushroom can be found in my book, The Cooking of Emilia-Romagna, a book which is currently out of print. If enough of you are interested in the book, we will be very happy to republish it especially for you. So, to get started, we're going to slice the mushrooms. I'm slicing them rather thinly, ½ inch, because that way the flavor really penetrates. So I'm going to take off the stem. I'm going to chop the stem and add it. It's all edible, it's all good. Everybody asks about these knives. Actually, I'm going to do a search on the internet to see if they're still available. These were knives that were used by shoemakers and by leather workers. They're not handsome, they're not stylish, but they really cut. Here's an unusual mushroom. It's not necessary to have this array of mushrooms. You can have 1 or 2 types. You can have whatever you like best. But I thought it would be fun to have all these different kinds of mushrooms. So this, of course, the stem is edible, and I'm going to slice it, and I'll slice the top. See, the slices should not be paper thin. They should be thick enough that you feel the texture of the mushroom. Here's another one, look, right? So we cut the bottoms, and they are automatically chopped. And these I'm going to leave whole because they're so beautiful. Oh, here's a beautiful one. Look at that. Look at that. Nature decorated it. Isn't that beautiful? You know what I always say about boring work. There is no such thing as boring work. You know, you're slicing mushrooms, but your brain is still alive. You know, you can think, you can reflect, you can meditate. Whenever I make mushrooms, I will always use some dry porcini as well. These have been soaked in boiling water for 20 minutes. So we're going to take them out. We're going to rinse them. So now what we're going to do is slice them. They're a little bit rubbery, you know, because they've been dried and rehydrated. But we're discarding the stems because the stems tend to be very, very dry and woody. So we don't want them. These are used in addition to fresh mushrooms for their flavor. The flavor is concentrated. The mushrooms are done. Now we're going to cook them. We're going to begin with 2 tablespoons of butter, more or less. More is better than less. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. The first thing we're going to add is the onion. I'm doing a whole onion because it's not too big. So I'm going to cut it into quarters. And the reason for that is to make it very easy to peel. Okay, the onions are chopped coarsely. So I take 1/4 of an onion. I'm simply slicing it. I don't want the onion to just melt into the oil. This way there will be kind of a little bit of a presence of onion. If you have a very large onion, use half. If you want a whole very large onion, that's fine. You know, use your judgment and trust yourself. I remember once reading a recipe that required half an egg yolk. And what was a cook supposed to do with the other half of a yolk? Throw it out? Please. We don't want to brown these, we just want to wilt them over fairly high heat. The onion just beginning to get brown, but it's wilted. Right, here's our parsley. And this, of course, is Italian flat leaf parsley, no other kind. I just hold it tightly and I start chopping it right in there. This is the sofrito. The first thing I'm going to add are the dried mushrooms. I'm going to start salting. We're going to do it in stages to create layers of flavor. You take some salt, you put it into the dried mushrooms, and next we're going to take these wonderful, wonderful mushrooms. I didn't know we had so many. You know, mushrooms will shrink down to practically nothing, so don't worry if you have an overfilled frying pan. Second, salting. The salt, of course, is also going to extract the water from the mushrooms. Now I'm going to add a little bit of the mushroom water. All right, I'm going to strain the mushroom water. There we go. They smell wonderful. You see how much shrinkage there is? You remember how it was overflowing a few minutes ago? Wow. Delicious. These will finish cooking, a total of 15 minutes. Meanwhile, we're going to start the polenta. The mushrooms are prepared. This has come to a boil, and here it goes. Next thing we're going to do is to salt the polenta water, a good amount of salt. Now, we're going to use 2 hands. We're going to sprinkle the polenta, this is the polenta, onto the boiling water, right? 2 hands. Left hand, polenta's going in, right hand is whisking. Sprinkle and whisk. You're whisking the polenta into the water to be sure that there are no lumps. The polenta's back to the boil. We're going to lower the heat, keep it boiling, but lower the heat. And then now we're going to stir. And when you stir, you want to go around the entire bottom and sides of the pot because you don't want anything to stick. This will take about 40 minutes, and you do have to stir constantly. Make sure that you hit the bottom of the pot and the sides so that nothing sticks. Okay. You're going to stir, make sure that nothing sticks to the bottom or the sides.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, most likely Giovanna already told you, this is a very popular dish in the north of Italy where it's cooler. It's a wonderful dish in the winter. It was originally thought of as regional, just concentrated in the area north of Tuscany, I would say. But these days, everybody eats polenta, something to warm the cockles of your heart. Occasionally, southern Italians refer to northern Italians as polentoni, meaning the big polenta eaters, because they do love it and they consume large quantities of it. I'm keeping this constantly on the move, so it's not sticking anyplace. It's very satisfying on a really cold winter's day. I mean, you can picture people coming in from skiing in the Italian Alps and having a nice piping hot dish of polenta, which they can combine with all kinds of things, with meats and vegetables, however they like.
Do you know what we're making it with today?
No?
Well, take a look to your right.
Oh, well, it looks like we're making it with mushrooms. I'm not sure how long I have to do this.
A few moments later.
I think it's done. Tia tavola.
A mangiare. Our mushrooms are magnificently done. There is no liquid left in the bottom. So now we're going to add the cream. The cream is optional. If you don't want to add it, don't. These are perfectly fine to put on top of the polenta. But this time I'm adding it. I'm going to add the cream to the mushrooms. I have the heat on, let it come to a boil, and that means that the mushrooms are heated through and through, and they're ready to be put on top of the polenta. Right? This has come to the boil. That's all it needs to do. Right? You see, it's boiling. That means that it's heated through. That's all we want. It's time to serve. Here's our polenta. Now we like our polenta runny. Look at that. Now if you have it left over, The next day it'll be solid and you can cut it and fry it, and that's a perfectly delicious way to polenta. But we like it when it's just made, just like that. Okay, here are our mushrooms. We're going to do a little garnish. You know, you don't garnish with strange things. You garnish with whatever's in the dish. Italian flat leaf parsley. Buon appetito! This is really a treat. This lovely polenta lunch is in honor of our beloved Zia Elvira, because she was the one who introduced us to this, who taught me how to make it properly.
She was born in a beautiful little town in Emilia, the province of Emilia. It's called Berceto. And I often thought somebody's going to make a film there one day. It has a 10th century Romanesque, they call it a Duomo, it's a large church. The ruins of a castle on top of the mountain, and a cemetery just outside the village with a wrought iron gate all around it. So it has, and a piazza. It has all the classic elements.
For Zia Elvira. Buon appetito! Thank you so much for requesting this video. Many of you did. We did it with pleasure. We're now having the treat of tasting it for you, and I wish you could be with us to have this wonderful, wonderful dish. You will find this recipe in my book, The Cooking of Emilia-Romagna, which at the moment is out of print, but if enough of you requested, we will certainly do another edition. This is too good.
I know that most of you are subscribers, but for the few who are not yet subscribers, consider doing that. Thank you very much for watching.
Alla prossima volta. Ciao!